They called me a failure, not behind my back, but to my face. I remember the moment exactly. I was wiping down the counter at the gas station in Flagstaff, still in the same dusty uniform I'd worn since 6 a.m. My phone buzzed. A notification. Ava Monroe just posted a new photo. I opened it. There she was, my younger sister, grinning, holding up keys with the caption, "Graduated in style, thanks Mom and Dad. Blessed, Range Rover Queen." The car sat gleaming outside a Scottsdale resort, surrounded by champagne and helium balloons. I hadn't been invited. I hadn't even known. I locked my phone and kept wiping the counter. But later, when I got home to my tiny studio apartment, I just sat on the edge of my bed and stared at the wall. I didn't cry. I'd stopped crying a long time ago. Ava was always the golden one. Beauty pageants, scholarships, followers. I was the dropout with grease under my fingernails and overdue bills. A week later, I saw them. My mom, Terry, looked straight at me. "You need to figure your life out, Dana. It's embarrassing to tell people you work at a gas station." My dad, Mark, just kept scrolling Zillow. Ava smiled at her screen and didn't say a word. That day, I made a decision not to explain myself, not to justify. I stopped trying to win a family that never chose me. I waited. And 2 years later, they arrived at a mansion. They thought it was a real estate tour, Ava's content stunt. But when they stepped out, I was already by the gate, keys in hand. "Welcome," I said. "My name is Dana Monroe. I was 28 when this all started." In that moment, it was everything. Working night shifts at a gas station just off Route 17 in northern Georgia wasn't glamorous. Some nights it wasn't even safe. I stocked shelves, cleaned up messes people left behind without a second thought, and handed change to customers who never looked me in the eye. My pay barely covered rent. I drove a dented 15-year-old Honda with a passenger door that didn't open. Most of my meals came from the clearance shelf at the mini-mart next door. I didn't post much on social media. There was nothing shiny to share. Just me, quietly trying to hold it together. But I wasn't ashamed. I showed up. I worked hard. I kept the floors spotless, helped travelers find their way back to the highway, and even figured out how to fix the broken slushy machine without calling for help. The job didn't define me, but I was proud of how I handled it. My family never saw it that way. To them, success had a glossy filter. It graduated magna cum laude, wore designer sneakers, and had a digital brand with hashtags and lighting rings. Ava, my younger sister, fit that mold perfectly. She was 3 years younger, with a smooth path laid out in front of her. Fashion blog, college dorm, Instagram partnerships. My parents, Terry and Mark, couldn't stop showing her off. When Ava walked into a room, she drew eyes. When I walked in, it was like I'd interrupted something. It hadn't always been that way. As kids, Ava used to climb into my bed during thunderstorms, whispering, "Tell me a story." I used to braid her hair and help with algebra. But something shifted. She soared. I stood still. And our parents made sure we all knew the difference. I didn't go to college. I went to work. And they never looked back. The air conditioner rattled like it might give out any second as I pieced together a secondhand bookshelf I'd found on Facebook Marketplace for $10. My phone buzzed. A group family chat, not something I was usually part of. My mom had sent a photo of Ava at some award banquet, smiling like a toothpaste ad holding a glass trophy. The caption read, "So proud of our girl. Beauty, brains, and boldness. That's what a Monroe looks like." I stared at it for a second, then went back to tightening the screws on the wobbly shelf. I didn't belong in that sentence. The only person who ever made me feel like I mattered was my grandfather, Pop Walter Monroe. He was always the quiet one at family gatherings, sitting near the back, sipping black coffee, eyes calm and knowing. He never asked for a resume or a list of accomplishments. He just saw me. One night after work, I stopped by his house to drop off a box of groceries. He didn't say much, just looked at me and said, "You've got fire in you, Dana. Don't let anyone put it out just because they can't handle the heat." Then he pressed a folded piece of paper into my hand. Inside was a crisp $100, 0 cents bill, and a note. "This isn't much, but I believe in you. When you figure out what to build it tall enough they can't ignore it. I kept that note for years. Back then, I didn't have a plan. Just scraped together hours, rent to cover, and a quiet kind of hunger. Not the kind that screams, but the kind that burns slow and deep. 2 months after Ava got her Range Rover, I saw her post a video, and it changed everything. It was a Sunday. I stopped by my parents' house after a long shift to drop off a birthday card for my mom. I didn't have much, just a simple card and some flowers I grabbed from the markdown bin at the corner market. They were in the middle of hosting brunch for Ava and her college friends. Everyone was dressed like they'd stepped out of a catalog. I was still in my work uniform, my shoes dusty, my hands still dry from cheap soap at the station. My mom took the flowers without meeting my eyes. "You should have called," she said. "We already have guests." I offered to help in the kitchen. She paused. "Maybe just take the trash out, Dana. The girls are eating. I don't want anyone feeling uncomfortable." I blinked, unsure if I heard her right. She still wouldn't look at me. So I took the trash out like she asked. On the way back in, I heard laughter float from the dining room. My dad's voice rang out. "She's going places, our Ava. Not like some people who waste their lives behind a counter." That night, I sat in my car for nearly an hour. Crying. I was done crying. I was angry, clear-headed. That was the moment it all clicked. I didn't yell. I didn't explain. I stopped begging to be seen. They had already decided who I was, and I didn't fit the narrative they wanted. But I knew better. I wasn't broken. I wasn't lazy. I was surviving. Without support, without shortcuts, without spotlight. While Ava posed with lattes, I worked 10-hour shifts and still showed up. That night, I opened my laptop and I typed, "How to build something from nothing." And I didn't stop there. I was preparing for something bigger. The world still saw me as the girl who rang up snacks off Route 17. That was fine. Let them underestimate me. Let my family keep calling me the lost one. They didn't know I was learning how to buy property. They didn't know I was studying how to flip houses. They didn't know I was planning to build something that would make them remember my name. They didn't know because I didn't need them to. I wasn't chasing their approval anymore. I was building something they couldn't ignore. Once I decided I was done being small, everything changed. I didn't quit my job. I still wiped down counters, stocked gum racks, and handed change to customers. But each shift felt different, like it was fueling a bigger machine. The first step, I opened a new bank account and named it Freedom. Every tip, every overtime dollar, every saved cent from skipping takeout or Netflix, it all went into that account. It didn't matter if I added $5.00 or $50.00. What mattered was that it grew. Next, I bought a $40.00 real estate course from a clunky website that looked like it hadn't been updated since 2010. But the info? Solid. I learned on breaks, after work, and late at night while the rest of the world slept. I kept quiet. My coworkers thought I was just tired. My family never asked. Then one afternoon, Travis walked in. Regular. Muddy boots, old truck. Friendly guy who always tipped in cash. He mentioned he'd inherited a rundown property from his uncle and needed to offload it. Most people would have said good luck. I said, "Would you ever sell it to an investor?" He raised an eyebrow. "You know someone?" "Maybe," I smiled. "Can I take a look?" If you've ever been underestimated or told to stay in your place, subscribe and follow Dana's story. Her next move could change everything. And maybe, just maybe, it will help you believe in your own. I took photos, asked questions, and thanked Travis for his time. The next morning, I started calling every contact I could find in online real estate forums and local Facebook groups. "I've got a motivated seller," I told them. "No, I don't own the property, but I can get it under contract today if you're serious." Most people ignored me, a few hung up, but one didn't. Her name was Daniela, an investor out of Atlanta. She asked for numbers. I sent her everything I had, photos, neighborhood comps, repair estimates I'd Googled at 2 a.m. She called me back. I used the money to officially register my business, Monroe Forge Properties. I printed business cards, launched a basic website, and funneled every dollar into more leads. Lunch breaks became cold call marathons. I bought property lists, mailed letters, and chased every maybe like it was gold. Within 6 months, I closed 2 more deals. Then one of my buyers asked to partner on a flip. I said yes. We bought a small ranch-style home together. I scrubbed walls, painted trim, staged rooms, and learned every step by doing. When we sold it, my profit was more than I'd earned in a year at the station. I didn't quit yet, I just kept building. Pop noticed first. He showed up while I was organizing tools in the garage of a house I'd just bought alone. He handed me an old keychain, worn, engraved, built, not bought. And just like that, I knew. They hadn't noticed yet, but they would. No loans. The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was heavy. The kind that makes people silently rewrite everything they thought they knew about you. I turned and opened the front door. You're welcome to come in, if you'd like. No one moved. My mother's eyes traced the white columns, the manicured landscaping, the custom iron railing I'd picked out myself. She finally asked, "How long have you been doing this?" 2 years, I said, while I was still working at the gas station. I didn't say it to hurt her, I said it because it was true. Ava's friend whispered, "This place is insane." Ava stayed quiet. Then my mother stepped forward. Her voice, softer than I'd heard in years, said, "We didn't know." I nodded. "I know." Just then, a second vehicle pulled into the driveway. It was Pop. I had invited him to come by privately, but fate brought him at that exact moment. He climbed out of his truck, took one long look at the house, then at me. He smiled like the world had just made sense again. Without saying a word to my parents, he walked right past them, up the steps, and wrapped me in a hug. "You built it tall enough," he whispered. I held back tears. My parents stayed in the driveway a little longer, but I didn't invite them in. Not yet. Maybe not ever. I didn't need an apology. I didn't need praise. I had already given myself everything they never did: belief, respect, and a future I owned. As they pulled away, I turned to Pop. "Think they'll tell anyone?" I asked. He grinned. "Doesn't matter. You already did." The next morning, my phone buzzed. A message from my mother. "We're proud of you." Is that? No apology. No explanation. And honestly, that was enough. For me. The nights when you're exhausted, unsure, and alone, but still moving forward. The mornings when you rise before the sun, chasing your dream in fragments. During lunch breaks, on worn notebooks in quiet rooms. Without applause, without a clear finish line. People saw the house and said I was lucky. They didn't see the gas station floors I scrubbed. The offers that collapsed. The rejections that stung. The contracts that fell apart hours before closing. They didn't see me living on oatmeal 5 days a week, or taking the bus to meet sellers, because I couldn't risk my old Honda breaking down. But Pop did. He came by almost every week after I moved in. We'd sit on the back porch, coffee in hand, looking out over the pine trees. He brought photos of the house he built in the 60s, stories about leaky roofs and DIY plumbing with no training and even less money. "You're the first in this family to build something this big without anyone's help," he said one morning. "That's not just success, that's courage." The following year, I started mentoring. Maria and Dennis, 2 of my coworkers from the gas station, asked what I'd done. I didn't give them a speech. I gave them a shot. I showed them how to find leads, negotiate, handle rejection. A few months later, they closed their first deal. That moment meant more to me than any paycheck. As for Ava, she kept posting. Designer shoes, filtered resorts, a shot of my house with the caption, "Dream Home Vibes." No mention of me, just another backdrop. I saw it. I didn't say anything. Let her keep the illusion. I have the keys. Success isn't revenge. It's quiet, it's earned, and it speaks for itself. They ask questions now, and I answer with kindness, but I never shrink again. If you're watching this and you've ever been made to feel small, invisible, or like you missed the mark because your path looked different, hear me. You are not behind because you started slow. You are not broken because they didn't see you. Power doesn't always come with noise. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's you, alone, starting anyway. Start anyway. Because one day, you'll walk out of something you built with your own hands, hold the keys high, and realize no one can take it from you. Not because they finally saw you, but because you did. If this story spoke to you, like the video so it can reach someone else in the grind. Share it. Drop a comment. Tell me what you've built. I read every single one. And subscribe, because this isn't just my story. It's ours. You're not late. You're just beginning. Keep building. If you've made it this far, thank you. For listening, for seeing me, for letting this story live outside the quiet corners it was built in. I didn't share this to prove anything. I shared it because I know what it feels like to be overlooked. To be told you're too late, too plain, too small. If any part of my story reminded you of your own, drop a comment below. Tell me something you're building, or something you want to build. I promise, I'll read every single one. I don't need praise. But if this resonated with you, show some love. Like the video so it finds someone else who needs that reminder. Share it with a friend who's still grinding in silence. And if you believe in quiet power the way I do, hit subscribe. Because this isn't just my voice. It's the voice of everyone who ever had to clap for themselves. Here's what I've learned. Start with what you have, believe before anyone else does, and never mistake being overlooked for being unworthy. We don't need permission to rise. We just need to begin. And I hope today you do.